Hey, folks, Studio here. So, I started a Kickstarter, and I can go ahead, I'm going to link the video that has it, and I'll link the Kickstarter in the description and all that. But I just want to make this a full-scale project. I want to dedicate my life to it. Because right now I'm doing my own thing, I'm making these videos, I really like it. But I want to go ahead and dedicate myself to it. I want to make myself Studio League of Legends commentator, streamer, caster, dailier. Now, today's game is Monomaniacs versus Dignitas Game 2 from IPL4. This game was not fully streamed, only the last 3 or so minutes were, and you just kind of saw the last team fight. And we didn't really see anything that builds up to it. So, I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm not going to spoil it a whole lot. We're going to see a lot of aggression from Monomaniacs because it's what they like to do, and they're pretty damn good at it. So, let's hop into the replay. Oh, in case you're wondering, this is a stack of the notes I've taken over the past, I'd say, 20 or so days. I've got more papers, but, yeah, I'm not taking them out. So first things first, we have Monomaniac eSports, and we have Zion Spartan on Aurelia, Paradoxical on Morgana, Nintendo X on Jarvan IV, Zig on Quirky, Pixel 3 on Janna, and for Dignitas we have Scar on Rise, Locust on Soraka, I'm a Cutie Pie on Kog'Maw, I Will Dominate on Mundo, and Voyboy on Lulu. Now, something interesting about Mono is they're very aggressive in how they play. So, they want to invade, but they place this ward here. And the reason for this is they should see Dig coming into their blue. It may not happen, it's a possibility, but it's likely they will. And if they have the red covered, then they have an important objective that really is Dig's only option to take. Protected, and they can invade. Now, you see Soraka there for like half second, quarter of a second, she shows up, and Mono immediately goes around. They know that if they go straight through there, somebody will see them. They might get a pick, they might. Morgana Binding might land on somebody. But it's not reliable, it's kind of risky. Why do it? They take the safe route, they go check bottom, I'm a Cutie Pie sees them, and they go for red. And they actually set up a neat little trap, and I like this. They make a sacrifice. Right now, Jarvan could be taking Wraiths. They could have gone a little faster. They might even be able to pick it up right now. But they ditch it. And the reason for this is, let's say I Will Dominate does start at Wraiths. They don't see him at red, so what if he did show up there? Then they can catch him when he goes to do his red. It's kind of sneaky. They did make a sacrifice, but it's interesting, and I like it. It doesn't work out, he doesn't show up, but they still take his red, leave a couple lizards behind. So that thing isn't going to come up for a decent amount of time. And the red is protected. Now one thing to note is Lulu has their blue. Paradoxical went out of lane just because he was pushed up, kind of wandering around trying to, see if Mundo was coming. But Lulu has Dignitas' blue. It was fed to her early on to pressure Zion Spartan. Now, I don't know if you land against a Lulu, but she does a lot of pressure, especially with her Q and E. Look at that damage. Jesus. And the blue goes onto her just to keep Aurelia down. Now, Voyboy goes for that aggression. He flashed in there, and his Ignite actually made the tower attack him after he'd already left aggro range. And he's going to die for it. But Voyboy, he's smart. He knows that, well, if you're going to die, do as much damage as you can. So he turns around, goes for the Aurelia kill, and dies. Now that's huge, because Aurelia didn't get a CS, or an assist, and it may be 9 CS to 9 CS, but Voyboy is level 4, and Aurelia is level 2, and that big creep wave Jarvan is killing right now, all that experience Nintendo X is getting is not going to Aurelia. So, right before Lulu had blue, that sucked. Now Lulu's going to have a level advantage, and that doesn't go away after a set amount of time. It can, but unlike blue, she can keep that level advantage, and she can keep the pressure way up. And of course, because she died at the tower, her lane pushed in immediately. Now, it's going to be hard to gank her. Nintendo X knows this. She has a ward. She's going to be very, very safe, but very, very aggressive. Lulu can do this. She's a pretty good character. So back to the jungle. The other lanes are going fine. Nothing too dramatic going on. And interestingly enough, Nintendo X takes blue for himself. I think they wanted to keep a strong jungle advantage. He's had both reds to himself. He's doing really well. I mean, he has 3 potions left with the cloth armor. And he's almost level 6, 6 minutes into the game. That's really fast for a jungler. I mean, bot lane is 3 and 4 for Monomaniacs. He's trying to be aggressive still, of course. He's going for a gank on I'm a Cutie Pie and Locust right now, but they back up. They realize, you know what, we can't do much to them under the tower anyways, so why be aggressive? Let's just go ahead, go back and buy, come back, and be strong. Now, Jarvan goes back, immediately buys a Wriggles, and immediately has to go back to top lane. Zion Spartan is level 5, Voyboy is 6. If Lulu had an offensive ult, he would be dead. But she doesn't, and he was able to farm for a decent amount, get some experience, but ultimately has to go back to lane very, very quickly. And this is kind of the snowbally nature of top lane. You get pushed out early, quite often, you're going to have a lot of trouble getting back, and it's not easy to get someone back. And right here I noticed that Kog'Maw was at 47 to 46 CS, so about equal, but he has the creep wave in his favor. He's a little farther ahead. And what Mono didn't really realize at this point, and nobody realized at this point, that this is actually a very, very Kog'Maw-centric team. Dig is known for having scary lineups in the top lane specifically. Voyboy's Lee Sin, Hotshot GG actually commented and said that he'd unlock the secrets in Hanover. So a lot of teams focused their strategies on Voyboy, and Dig, they've reacted to this. It's actually really cool. They'll have a lot of I'm a Cutie Pie or Scarra based teams. So this team's very, very I'm a Cutie Pie based, but we'll cover that later. Para likes being aggressive, he likes going for those kills, and even though he doesn't really know how strong Dig's team is based off, the strength of Dig's team is based off Kog'Maw, he's still ganking bottom lane. This gank goes kind of interestingly. I'm a Cutie Pie, he realized he's caught between Morgana, he's not going to get away from her. He just goes on to put pressure, and Paradoxical thinks that Zig and Pixel can handle I'm a Cutie Pie, but he does a ton of damage, they were just too low, and they're not able to kill him. Scarra and Mundo showing up definitely put a damper on it too, and it was a really good move from Mono to actually back up from that. They could have tried to fight I'm a Cutie Pie, but chances are people would have been cleaned up by the Rise Mundo combo if they did kill him. At a minimum, Kog'Maw's passive probably would have gotten some kills. Now, that ward there, it died, and I actually kind of like it, because now they know that, well, Dig was playing with the info based off that ward. They'll probably place it again, it's a very common ward spot, but now Nintendo Dex will know for a very short amount of time there is no ward there. And he's trying to be aggressive. He has an Oracles now, and Oracles can mean a lot of things, but I see a lot of people get Oracles and go for team fights. But you don't want to do this. You want to try and clear the map of wards. You want to get map control because you've made this investment. And if you get into team fights, you can die. And unless you get like 3-to-1 kills, it's not really worth it. Now, I like this fight. So Dig is going for Dragon. Aurelia is still top. Paradoxical catches out Locust and tries to kill her. He's not going to be successful, but you know what? He wants to do some damage. He wants to distract them a bit. Because nothing he does right now will really win them a fight. Dig is very organized. They're not going to let themselves just get Morgana ulted queued by Ziggs and just somehow die. They're not going to let that happen. So, Mono smart, they go ahead, apply some pressure, and let Aurelia farm. She's up to 59 CS to 73, and Zion Spartan's doing pretty well. He was doing a lot worse before. The early kill came into play. The early zoning coming into play, but now he's doing okay. And they want Aurelia to be recovering, they want Aurelia to be strong, and as fed as possible. Now Nintendo Dex, he wasn't able to do a lot in these past situations, but he has the Oracles now, he's going to be moving around a lot, focusing on clearing wards and going for some ganks. Now, still a bit of a small difference, but across the map you'll notice no one really has a huge difference in CS. I mean, Mundo's probably isn't up to date. Kog'Maw is a little about equal with Corki. Scarra is a little behind Paradoxical, but at the same time, Aurelia is a little behind Lulu. So CS is actually very even across the board. There are 2 kills for Monomaniacs, and there is that dragon. So Dig probably has a little more money, but it's an even game. And once again, you see Paradoxical going for some aggression. He goes through bottom, through the enemy jungle. It's a very, very good gank route. Cannot work sometimes if they have good ward coverage, but they was not able to maintain it, and the Jarvan Oracles is definitely threatening. This time, they do something different. They go straight for I'm a Cutie Pie. I mean, they go for I'm a Cutie Pie and Locust, but they focus on I'm a Cutie Pie once Locust is a bit too far out. My bad. And they're able to get him really low. They're in a position, though, where Zig can die to I'm a Cutie Pie. And it's scary. And I love this little ending. So, with 2 HP from a Soraka banana, Zig gets away and heals and flashes and makes it out of there. God damn. If Soraka ran 80 runes, which would be horrible 90% of the time, would actually be okay, but it's very unconventional, Corki would have died. And Zion Spartan up in the top lane, he's fighting Voyboy. This is scary. It's really dangerous to fight Voyboy. As Lulu, he has an advantage, but he dodges. He flashes at the perfect time to dodge the EQ combination from Voyboy. The E landed, the E will always land. It's not a skill shot, but if you time it right, you can make it so that picks will fire at just an off direction. It's very hard to do, it's very hard to time, but I really respect Zion Spartan for learning that. Lulu has been relatively common at the 2K brackets, but it's only been a couple weeks, 2.5 tops, and he learned how to dodge that very quickly, so props. And Nintendo X plays very defensively here. He doesn't want to risk losing that Oracles. There's no need to take a big risk right now. He could focus on killing the ward and trying to engage Mundo, but what would that do? He'd get the ward, he might die himself, and he probably wouldn't kill Mundo. So he makes sure that he's just trying to get something for nothing. His time is all he wants to invest. He doesn't want to invest deaths or oracles. And he actually sells his final potion, gets a null magic mantle, and he's ready to be a little tankier. Now, unfortunately for Zion Spartan, he gets a bit overzealous. That kill was cool, but he does die, sadly. And one thing to note is that Rise Cage will prevent Jarvan's ult. Now, I'm not sure how picks went down. This was not included in the information I got. But when you cannot ult as Jarvan and you want to go ahead and use your CC before you go in, it can be a huge, huge damper. And unfortunately, Jarvan doesn't have a lot of innate tankiness. He has his W, which is a nice shield, but not what you level up first, and it's not that good. He doesn't have the same level of tankiness as Mundo or Shyvana. And right now, teams are just poking at each other. They're trying to burn ults from Dignitas, and the fight starts. And I actually really like this fight. So Nintendo X goes in, Skara immediately cages him. Zion Spartan is fighting Locust and I Will Dominate up top. I'm a Cutie Pie gets ulted into the cage by Pixel, and it sets up Skara and I'm a Cutie Pie to be both hit by Paradoxical's ult. As the cage ends with Nintendo X's death, they're going to clean up everybody trapped into the Dragon Pit. And Lulu and Soraka are just kind of at the edge trying to get Paradoxical down, trying to just deal some damage. Para goes down, Skara goes down, it's now I'm a Cutie Pie versus Pixel, Zig, and Zion. I'm a Cutie Pie dies, Voyboy and Locust are kiting Zion and Zig. And they're just trying to constantly do as much damage to each other as they can. Putting on this aggression, Voyboy firing from over the ridge. I don't know if he realized that there was a ward in there because it lets Aurelia jump to him. But they're still pressuring. Lulu has 46 HP right now, 38. She gets a heal from Soraka. She still has her shield up, but will she make it out? No. It's just enough. Now, unfortunately, it's only the 18-minute mark. That fight lasted quite a while. And because of that, Mundo is up. They can't take a tower. They can't take Dragon reliably. Mundo is just putting on the aggression. And there's not a lot they can do. They want to be safe. They know that if they go for Dragon, they're going to have a few low people. They're going to have whoever's tanking Dragon might get low. And they might die. But they back up once they see that Lulu is top lane. They spend that energy just to go ahead, rush Dragon, and kill it. That ward there, by the way, an incredible pain to place. You want to get it in the tri-bush, but sometimes it just doesn't work out when you try and do it from Overdragon. And this was the end of part 1. In part 2, we're going to see a lot more team fighting, and we can focus a lot more on Dignitas' team composition when it really comes into play. This studio saying, see you then.